If your business or your brand is not getting the momentum or the sales that you want, you probably did something wrong in the process. That's what happened in this interview with Stephen Ye. Stephen knows this process backwards and front because he's part of the team here at capitalism.com. Stephen launched his brand and just didn't get the sales that he was hoping, and now he's struggling with momentum. Can you relate to this? You think you're gonna kill it, and now things are just grinding to a halt. Well, after this conversation, Stephen realized that he was doing something wrong, and it's a classic mistake that many entrepreneurs who struggle make. But as soon as they unlock this, everything becomes easier and more effortless. It's a mindset shift that sets you free to build the $1 million business. And I think as the result of hearing this conversation with Stephen, you're finally gonna get it and have permission to go full throttle towards building a $1 million business. It's not that hard, so let's dive in.
I have a new brand that just came out. It's called Sacred Codes, and just some type of inspiration that came up. Even that I wanted to start this right before working with you guys as well. So it kind of all just came together where I was able to come on a team and then also be able to go with this and build this brand. So for me, this brand is about, there's different ways that I'm trying to share it. It is about, one of the ways to explain it is to help expand human consciousness. I feel like in some ways that term is just too loose. So another way I could put it is just to help people like feel alive.
Great.
To actually just feel good and feel whole. You know what I mean?
That's actually a really good tagline. Feel alive. That's a good tagline if you want to run with that. And I know you've got the matcha is the first product, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about where you're at in the process of sales, launch, all of that. And then tell me a little bit about what your primary goals are from this conversation and over the next 12 months.
Cool. So I actually started this before going through your content. And what ended up happening once again, just because of, the exciting part of things was to create the product and putting it all together.
Yeah.
I focused on that in the beginning, right? And so I didn't spend too much time on the audience building side. So what ended up happening was I did a launch in May. It did okay. I made a few sales here and there. But what I realized, like what you've been talking about for a long time, is that you need that audience side of things. You need to build that with those raving fans.
Just so I know, Stephen, when you say you made a few sales here and there, what does that mean exactly?
I believe it was around 15 sales.
15 sales. Okay. And from like right now on a daily basis, are you getting consistent sales or is it pretty sparse?
Good question. So it is quite sparse. So what ended up happening was a few days after I launched, I actually had to move my whole family to Bali. And then we had to find a new place. We got sick and all that. So I really actually didn't start revamping and working on the business once again until about 2-3 weeks ago.
Okay, cool. So we're
other than that, it was just settling.
We're at relaunch period, essentially. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So where do you need clarity right now? And to start, tell me where you'd like to be in 12 months to be happy with your progress. And then we'll kind of focus our conversation from there.
In 12 months from now, what comes to mind at the moment is $50K per month.
Okay. Got it. In top line revenue.
Correct.
The overall vision of the brand is really to grow human consciousness, for this to be an opportunity for someone to cultivate a spiritual practice, to be more aware, to be more present. And the first product is the matcha. but the matcha
Correct.
is one way that someone could experience a growth in consciousness. Is that a fair summary of what your target is?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So I have some ideas for you right out of the gate, but tell me what your relaunch plan is and your marketing strategies for how to hit that 50K a month in 12 months.
Beautiful. So multiple strategies at the moment. One of them, I'm starting a podcast with my good friend. He has right now a decent following. He had to restart it. He has about 150,000 subscribers on Instagram and YouTube separately.
And
so
is this the individual that we both know that you're
Correct.
close with in Bali? Okay, awesome. That's a great influencer for this brand.
Yeah. So we are starting that podcast, and it will be launched pretty soon. We've got about 12 episodes in the pipeline, and now it's just a matter of launch strategy. So that's going out soon.
And just so I know, is he part of this brand, or is this podcast completely separate from this brand?
He is not part of the brand yet. I mean, maybe eventually.
So I don't mean to belabor this point, but sometimes we overlook the assets that are right in front of us, right?
It's true.
So it's like I sometimes will talk to entrepreneurs and they'll say, well, I'm trying to sell this product. And I'm like, well, what are you doing right now? Well, I have this blog, and this blog has 100,000 visitors a month. Okay, well, hold on. We got some assets here. And so I don't want you to gloss over this point that you are really close with someone who represents the ideals and the values that your brand stands for. And you're starting a podcast with him. This is a huge asset for us. So this is why I want to be really clear about the relationship and what your desires are, because we can sort of weave in whatever type of relationship we want, and it can be an asset for the brand that you're building. So the next part of this discussion is relaunching the brand and building the audience so that he can have consistent sales. If you follow my work, you know that I talk about that all the time, but how do you do it? How do you start building the audience in a way that buys? So what I work with Steven in this clip is how he can start building an audience over the long term that will be the perfect avatar to buy all of his products and make it simple and straightforward for him to get to 25 sales a day over 4 products, thus being 100 sales a day and $1 million business. For Steven, starting a podcast is the perfect next step for him. He has a partner that is an influencer with a really great audience. He likes long form content, and this is a topic that he's truly interested in, and he would do it for free, regardless if anyone was listening or if it was making sales. That's why building a podcast, specifically a video podcast that can be repurposed into other forms of social media content, is perfect for Steven. It's not necessarily the perfect thing for everybody. The fastest way to build an audience that buys is just to drive ads to an opt-in and then build the audience using the email list and sending 1 email a week with a company update. That's the fastest way to do it. That's the way that if you don't want to put your face out there, you can still build an audience that buys your stuff. But for Steven, this is the best route forward. So we have a strong relationship with this person who has a following that is targeted for your business. Awesome. This is a huge asset, even if he's never a part of it, he never mentions it. There's some things that we could do there to weave it into the conversation in a cool and ethical way. Now, I will bring that up throughout this conversation about how we might do that, but tell me about your plan. Go ahead and run what you wanted to run by me.
So, cross-promoting with different brands in the same niche, as well as reaching out to kind of different influencers in the space, especially the idea would be podcasters as well as YouTubers, because I believe I've heard it from you, that they have the most dedicated followings.
That's
which
correct.
Makes a lot of sense.
That is correct.
I just want to check in to see if I'm doing too many at once, especially because for some reason right now, I feel like I'm putting out maybe if I'm being honest with myself, like 15 to 20% effort in this business.
Okay,
Even
cool. So
though things are moving, it just doesn't feel like I'm
totally. So first of all, I really like your overall strategy because you're partnering with people who have reach. And I think you're doing the right things in developing deep relationships with people that can help spread the message. And I would say that you don't have three strategies. You have one, which is creating relationships with people who can bring firepower to this brand. So I don't think you're doing too much. I think this is exactly what you should be doing. But here's something that I'm picking up on from you, and I wanted to find a way to weave this in, and you teed me up for it. I think I'm going on a hunch here, Stephen, but I have a hunch that your passion is more on the overall vision of raising consciousness, not selling matcha. And I think that's creating some gunk for you. And by gunk, I mean, if you focus completely on this thing that fires you up, which is raising consciousness, you will sell a lot of matcha, but you'll slow down if in the back of your mind, you're thinking about selling matcha. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
So when
there's not a big enough reason to, here's a matcha product.
For you, right? Now, if you talk to Andrew Weil, who runs matcha.com, the guy won't shut up about matcha. He loves freaking matcha. He'll tell you about the blends and the benefits. He loves talking about matcha. But for you, I suspect the reason you're only getting 15% output from yourself is because you're thinking about, gotta sell some freaking matcha, rather than thinking about the overall vision of helping a person on their journey to raise consciousness. You picking up what I'm laying down?
Yeah. I feel that there is something to it. I mean, definitely I do like matcha and I do like the product that I'm sending out, but it is not the biggest why of this company. And so I think in general, I do have to come back and really focus on the main priorities of why this business was launched.
And there's a great example that I want you to check out. It's a brand called Creatures of Habit, Creatures with a K. So Creatures of Habit does a great job of telling stories that are in alignment with their vision, and they weave their product in. The product is ready to go oatmeal, right? I mean, could you have a more basic product? Now, I haven't tried it, but I'm told it's delicious and it has omega-3s added to it and it has a lot of protein to it. But really the vision of the brand is about creating habits that create a great life. And the founder has a wonderful story of being down and out. And I believe he was a drug addict who then got his life together. And the way he got his life together was sort of taking the same addict mentality, but putting it towards healthy habits of creating really strong routines and eating the same thing every day. And so he is now releasing products that make it easier for people to build good, healthy habits. The first one being an awesome breakfast. So this is the same type of structure for you, where the message of the brand is not about how amazing matcha is. It's about consciousness. It's about how the world needs this, about your journey. It's about other people's journeys. It's about Mike's journey. It's about the state of the world and how important it is for people like you and me to think differently and to raise our awareness and be autonomous human beings. When I talk like this, how does that feel?
I can feel it. Yeah, I feel a lot more inspiration. I feel a lot more energy inside of me.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
That's the feeling alive that you talked about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as I can actually see it in your face. There's a different level of aliveness when you think about that or talk about that. And then matcha becomes part of it, but it's not the hero in the story. And if you try to make matcha the hero of the story, you're going to slow down and you're going to be frustrated. You're going to be begging for reviews. But if you stay in that place where you're feeling alive, then this product will fall into that momentum. It's like it'll be like the leaf in the stream that just gets carried down the current. And then you'll launch the second product and the third product and the fourth product. And this won't be a sacred matcha brand. This will be a brand about consciousness. And you'll have several products that may not look anything like each other, but they feed off each other and fuel one another towards this transformation that you're excited to bring people along. You're doing all the right things and you don't even know it. Makes me so happy. Like, this is exactly what I would suggest that you do if you want to grow this brand. Like, this is you found the perfect influencer. You're following the perfect strategy. Your content is perfect.
I wonder where I got my strategy from.
Thank you very much. So you are documenting the process. You are creating content as you become the leader that you want to be for this movement or for this transformation for your person. And it's important for you to know that you have reached a certain level of awareness or consciousness, because you're not at the same level that you were 10 years ago.
It's true.
And most of the world is where you were 10 years ago. So you don't need to be Deepak Chopra or Guru Singh or any of the people that you might admire in order to start bringing people along this journey. I mean, you felt confident enough in this journey to start recording 12 episodes with someone in this space who helps others with this. So you speaking from a place of authority is not as impactful as you speaking as someone who is on the journey alongside others and sharing what you're discovering along the way. One is saying, I have all the answers and I'm at the top of the mountain, you should start climbing. The other is saying, I'm going to the top of the mountain, who wants to come with me? That's a very powerful perspective to take, rather than saying, I'm the one with all of the answers. So I think you're in the perfect position to document this process and to share the tools and the strategies and the thought structures that have taken you here and that you're practicing right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
It's common for entrepreneurs to feel like imposters because we're not experts at whatever field we're in. And we are following and subscribing to the channels of the people who actually are experts and spend their life talking about something. It's important to remember that the only thing that you need to do is serve a person on their journey. You don't have to be an expert because the brand's not about you. It's about the customer. And when we think that we need to be an expert, that's more a desire for status. That is saying, I don't have the status for somebody to take me seriously. It's nonsense. You don't need status to serve someone. You actually need to be humble enough to pay attention to what someone wants and simply serve them on their journey. That's the role of your brand. I can hear in the way you're describing things like you are swinging for the fences, which is amazing, but you are not going to connect on home runs every single time. So we need to get some people on base first. We need to get some walks, get some base hits, get some bunt singles. And those bunt singles look a lot like getting 6 sales and following up with those people and getting them to leave reviews or take pictures of them holding the product and running ads based on that user-generated content. It's these very small things that will build the momentum. And when you've got the bases loaded and you really hit a home run with one of those influencers, now we're cooking. But we can't expect you to hit home runs when you don't have any momentum yet. So that momentum looks a lot more like building an email list. Like, here's the tactical piece: building an email list or a Facebook group that is about consciousness, where you're delivering daily meditations or weekly meditations, or you are sharing the clips and Q&As that you do privately for this group that end up on the podcast.
and you cultivating that relationship with 300 to 1,000 raving fans that isn't about matcha at all. You picking up what I'm laying down?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And those 300 to 1,000 people end up buying matcha as a way to participate in the community, to show their support. And then 100 of them leave reviews, which increases your conversion rate. And some of them three of them send in video testimonials, which become your first ads. So that's the work. You're doing all the right things from a macro perspective. What you're missing is the in-between bunt singles and sacrifice flies that move people on the base path, that create runs on the board, that put points on the board. That's the piece you're missing. But your overall great macro strategy is perfect. It will mean nothing if you don't do the micro stuff in between.
When people feel behind, they tend to take bigger risks. They tend to try to swing for the fences in order to make up for the previous failures. This gets into a very dangerous trap that is similar to how gamblers operate. They get a little bit down, so they take a bigger risk in order to make up for their losses, and that never ends well. Entrepreneurship is almost exactly the same. The way that you get progress is not by swinging for the fences. It's by getting people on base. It's singles and doubles and simple next steps forward. Before you know it, you have 4 products doing 25 sales a day at a $30 price point. If you're trying to cut that process down to one big thing that happens, you are going to take risks that don't pan out. It is much faster to do the little things that get progress going, and before you know it, you have consistent sales on a product that you're proud of that is serving people and on its way to $1 million business.
I mean, it sounds like I can integrate that, pretty easily, with the podcast and everything else. So now it's just a matter of, I think overall, it's just a matter of time and just, doing it step by step, just continuing to move.
That's right. And you will be surprised at how quickly that becomes 25 sales a day.
Beautiful. I'm excited. Excited.
Good.
Let's play.
Good. So what I want you to do from here is I want you to post in the 1% every 7 to 14 days, like make it part of like your Friday things to do. Posting what you were on the show. Get people to follow your journey inside the 1% because it will hold you accountable. And once a week or twice a month, post an update about what you're doing from this conversation, what the results were, and if you want, you can also use that as social media content for you documenting your own brand. You do that in combination with everything else we've talked about on this call, 50K a month is right there. It's just got to be about that juice that you bring, not about what do I need to do to get to the 50K a month.
Absolutely. Ryan, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anytime, my man. I'm excited for you.
This stuff is so much fun when we find that unlock. The interesting thing about all of this is when you can find that zone that you truly care about, that is in service to a group of people, the $1 million is so easy. One of the ironies of this is that when people come into the brand building process or entrepreneurship in order to make money, they start to punt the things that actually make money. When they're trying to extract as much as possible and think about how do I sell more stuff so that I can have freedom, they don't do the things that add value to other people's lives and thus create happy customers. So the secret is finding that zone. Where do you care so much that you would do it for free? Because the irony is, once you start doing it, you start attracting the people to you that want to give you money. So you need to be in the energy of creation and service, which is just easier to do when you actually care about what it is that you're doing. When you're approaching business with the perspective of I need to extract mine to get it, then in every interaction you show up with, you're trying to take from someone rather than give them value. No one wants to work with you when you're trying to take from them. The beautiful irony of entrepreneurship is it is the undoing of selfishness so that you can have everything that you want. And the more selfish you are when you approach business, the faster that everything you want will run away from you. It's a beautiful part of evolution. I'm Ryan Daniel Moran. I run capitalism.com, which is ironic because people think that capitalism is about selfishness and they think it's about taking from other people. And it is exactly the opposite. Whenever you're ready to start your road to 1 million, click the subscribe button and I will willingly mentor you on your path to $1 million because I freaking love this stuff. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.